Temps in the high 90s, the breeze is just right. There's many ways to start a new project. You got a lot of considerations, a lot of thoughts. But you know, out here in the desert, I feel like all you really need is a couple good car parts and a dream. If you know me, you know I got parts laying around. It's just a matter of time till I start seeing configurations and possibilities. I gotta say, this is a pretty non-traditional horse ranch we got, so why not build a non-traditional roadster? It's a fiberglass body. It's already non-traditional, right? In my eyes, anything goes. I'm thinking about a hot rod roadster for the desert. I found some of just the right stuff. The rest is to be determined. I can only remember which way was north. My shop's around here somewhere. All this wandering around the desert can really wear a guy out. As you can see, I am in need of some transportation. Water. Water. Got a little body, got a little chassis, and I got an engine. This fine piece of Americana. Some folks say it's a 360, some folks say it's a 390. Universal agreement is it's a Ford FE engine from 1975. What do I know? It has some cool valve covers, so I bought it. What can I say? I like sparkly things. I mean, big old valve covers, sold. Next on the list of parts is this gem. 1991 Ford Ranger chassis, two-wheel drive. It's got this twin I-beam front suspension, really strong. They make awesome pre-runners. The rear suspension is soft. They ride great out in the Wild West. The 3 Fs, Ford, Ford, and Ford. This isn't my first foray into building a desert-inspired vehicle. I made Mr. T, which came out really cool. I built my wife Jamie this awesome dune buggy, and then of course, the Interceptor. It's something I've learned living out here. You need a vehicle that can take the bumps, they can get dirty, and keep on ticking. I mean, they all turned out really good, but this time I'm looking for something a little more purpose-built, but still with that funky style. Like most of my great ideas, it's not as easy as just putting together a puzzle. Body's definitely not designed to fit this chassis, and for me, of course, it's all about the look. Like, the wheelbase is radically different. I mean, this is a pretty noodly looking chassis here. It's all over the place. I mean, look at this roller coaster effect. I don't know where they came up with that or why. When you look at the Model A or T, it looks like a ladder. That doesn't bother me. I put this body on, start making adjustments. That's the essence of hot rodding, right? Just do what you can with the stuff you got lying around. Well, the chassis is not too wide. Look how the wheel arch is so far away from where the tire is. Problem number 1. So it looks like the body's got to be sitting somewhere in that orientation. The wheelbase looks extremely long as well. You can see how much the chassis is hanging out of the back end of this rig. One of my main challenges at this point is to not cut the chassis. I don't want to disrupt the geometry of the way this thing was built from the factory. I got to find a way to make it look good in stock form. Well, we know the body don't fit. Let's see how bad the engine mashup is. This truck would have a V6 or a 4-cylinder in it, and I'm stuffing a big old Ford engine in it. That's all about the mock-up stage, right? Just keeping an open mind. We're just kind of stacking parts as usual. So the stock engine would want to fit here, where this little cross member is. What if we took the engine, moved it rearward, and dropped it down so that it would be straddling that cross member back to the firewall, like it should be in a roadster. And then you got the look of the hot rod with the tires out front, no? Not looking at the chassis, I'm just looking at this. Body and the engine have to look good together. I'm not looking at the front of the chassis or the rear of the chassis. It looks good. You might be wondering, Ian, are you suffering from heat exhaustion? Do you need glasses? The answer is yes, and probably yes. That engine works, like clears the cross member, it's very low. You know, what if I lowered the body? What if I notched it to kind of fit up with the engine again for that hot rod look? Ooh, that's looking better. You know, that don't look half bad. Puts a little rake in the body too. I was originally thinking I was gonna, oh man, I'm gonna drop that body right down over the chassis, but right away I'm thinking about hot rodding, right? So I'm like, oh yeah, channel the body over the chassis, get that ultimate look. But upon further investigation, maybe that's not the best idea. So right now, this is like the Flintstone special. The unfortunate aspect of channeling it is as the body comes down, the floor seemingly rises up, less interior room. Feels like you're in the car. If I'm sitting 10 inches higher, then all of a sudden you're out of the car. This is actually a running theme through pretty much every one of my projects. Shrink it down, it looks so cool, the tires look massive next to it, and then you put this big carcass in there and everything changes. I have to fit in it one way or another, and that's a pretty big task. I gotta try to fit my big fat task in this car. Being that this is an off-road desert car, I definitely wanna have some kind of canopy over me, and a roll cage is a great place to put that sunshade, so roll cage is a definite. But I'm thinking, what if I left the body up in the back and raked it even more in the front? Like, what if I took some off of the nose of this thing and just dropped it down? What if it sat on the car like that, but lower? It's starting to get a little funky attitude right there. Yeah, I'll put the valve covers up here. That's what you want to see, too. I think I just made up your mind. By cutting this back, like this body line, look, it would kind of transfer into this a little bit better. See, they're not perfectly parallel, but they're definitely more in agreement than they were. That way this just kind of rolls off and it shows the frame. I'll throw the dice, commit, and cut. Ooh. Maybe we drop the engine a little. I love the valve covers being up like that. This makes the engine look so much more pronounced. This is what I was hoping for, you know, just one quick move and that sets the whole project in motion. The last thing I had was this cool grille. You know what I'm saying? Something in this area, I don't know. This is gonna have some kind of off-road tires. You think I got everything in order before I start the project? Heck no. This is just the mock-up phase. We're on our way. All that's left to do is everything. Typical business at Rancho Russello. What this thing needs next is a little TLC, a little tender loving cutting. Got some ideas. We've got our initial mock-up in place. Now it's time to bring some envisioning to life, my favorite pastime. This is where I want the body to land for here, ever after. I'm really not happy with seeing this trailer hitch and all this cross member stuff. I'm gonna put a roll cage in it, but firstly, I wanna get rid of this rear cross member and replace it with a round tube. It'll look a little bit more race truck. The whole idea here is to make it appear like with a hot rod, you know, pretty much the tires are the main statement, not a bunch of extra stuff. You know, a truck would have bumpers, a tow hitch, none of that on this rig. Chassis rails are gonna stay because they're supporting the leaf spring perches. I'm gonna make the tube frame first and then cut all this out. For this part of the project and the rest of all the tubing fabrication, I'm using 1.5 inch with 1/8 inch wall round tube. Probably not the stoutest choice for a serious off-road machine, but for this desert cruiser, it'll be perfect. The thing about off-road vehicles is like the functionality, these tube structures, that's the aesthetic. These things get tricked out. Some look super techy and some are more artsy. Mine would be more artsy, still looking techy. Yeah, see, that already looks more like a desert vehicle. Just a little spreader, put some support. In the words of every great welder, that ain't going nowhere. That looks a little more off-road appropriate. I really want to carry this aesthetic of the fabricated tube look through the entire project. That's really kind of the key to this off-road appearance. It's got to perform in the desert, it's got to look cool. So I got to thinking, Self, if you could build any kind of roll cage for this car, you wouldn't really follow the perfect CAD design of the ultimate structure, right? And I said, yeah, that's right. So why don't we curve some tubes to match the back of the car? So I did. And here it is. It has the potential to follow in the back of that car, does it not? But it'll also add something, the funk factor. So if they don't turn down, they turn to wherever they land on the rear hoop, like that. So we spliced it with a straight shot. Does that look weird to you? Looks pretty weird to me. Let's carry on. In a perfect hot rod world, you'd have a chop top, right? But this isn't that type of thing. Headroom is gonna matter. Most of the time, it's all about the look, right? Like, I don't care if I'm crunched in there like a monster. But if you've been off-road and ever had the roll bar banging against your head for the entire ride, you change your mind about things. Principal factor in this look, because you think of a hot rod, chopped, channeled, lowered. This thing is pretty tall, and the roof, it looks to fit me, is gonna be even taller. Dang it. Why'd mama make me so tall? Can't even build a cool dune buggy. I mean, that's fun buggy style for sure, but I don't know. That looks really tall. The real challenge here is to have a true roll cage, it's gotta protect your neck. And if it doesn't, then what is it? At the same time, you don't want it to look like, one of those big hi-hats. So I think what's gonna sell this is having the rest of the cage in place. Right now, it's just throwing me off because I'm thinking about like a Manx-style buggy where it just have one hoop over the back, and that proportions everything. We're gonna have a structure. Did a little trimming, and I cut down the overhead roll bars as much as I felt comfortable doing. I want to get the rest of the cage structure in place and then see how it feels. So these little cuts here are called fish mouths because that's why. The whole idea here is it's adjustable. Right now, these little fish mouths will allow these bars to pivot, so just kind of centering some stuff. Once you start climbing in, and you're 6'2", so you can see this, right? It looks a little awkward, but this is me sitting right on the chassis, no seat. So what might help put it in proportion more, so maybe it doesn't look like it just has a big box stuck on top, is the rear bars. That's sort of what I was seeing back here. But the question is, where this doesn't just turn down to here, this is gonna come as a straight shot back to there. Where the old duct tape helping hand comes in. So see, that's gonna hit there. Yeah, I could see that working. I'll plug weld outside of this join, and then it'll have this big, strong center. Very strong. So seeing those rear bars on there, it doesn't look so much like there's a big box stuck on top. No, it's definitely tall, right? But it doesn't look so out of proportion with the body. I want to cut the front of this off and then decide what the tubes do going back to the cage. But the steering box is going to be the limiting factor because it's ahead of this cross member. So you could see, got a big old steering box sticking out ahead of the thing. I guess I'll just keep it at that. I'll cut right to that box. Just like the back of the chassis stuck out so far, the front of this chassis is gonna stick out as well. Sometimes limitations are a good thing. We can all just dream of idyllic situations, but occasionally you gotta work with what you got. But I think maybe a curve in the nose section, instead of coming down to a hard taper like that. I'm thinking maybe it'll have like a bend, it'll just curve up and forward. Because I'm trying to make the front of the chassis look as minimal as possible. So see, I was seeing something like that as the front of the chassis instead. And maybe I could pull that back to say here. and it gets that hard edge off the front of the chassis. That steering box is definitely a permanent install. We're gonna work around it. Oh yeah. Looks like a hood line now, albeit a long hood. At least it has some kind of a flow. Before I get the front part of the cage welded, I want to get the engine in. The positioning of the engine is pretty critical. This is what I was really trying to show off. Get that. I mean, these valve covers, they're not going to be yellow in the end, obviously, but let me express my enthusiasm. I love the way that the valve covers are showing above the cage. It's got like an aggressive look, so I'm pretty charged up. It's all about flavor, right? It's time to get the old spice rack out, get to work. Just getting these tubes in place is really helping me with the proportion. You know, the roof height was a real problem for me, but now seeing this long stretched out front, you know, gives the tube chassis a little more proportion, I think. The rake being transferred down to the hood, it all looks like it's in alignment. The thing that's bugging me proportion-wise are these puny little trailer tires. When it comes to options for tires and wheel style, the sky's the limit as usual. Is it a sand car? Will it have paddles and skinny tires on the front? Is it a monster truck, you know, with the huge 44-inch tires? I was like, this thing is looking pretty functional. Definitely needs something with tread, something meaty looking, but I thought that like something like this would be best. Yeah, I saw an ad for these babies, and it just seemed right. They're 35 by 12.5 on these centerline style wheels, and so you could really see the difference between these guys and the 14-inch trailer units. Yeah, look at that. That's quite a bit larger. When I saw these tires, I knew they were just the right thing. The first thing it made me think of is one of those RC cars that are like so capable, you know, jumping and going over everything. Even though it's a hot rod, the big and little combo isn't really what I'm thinking for the desert. That beefs it up a bit. Oh yeah, this changes the proportion issue like 100%. All of a sudden, it looks like it should be this way. That's what I was looking for, even though I didn't know what I was looking for. I love the discovery process of these builds. You know, you just get apart, move forward, make a couple decisions, find some more stuff, carry on. And that's always been a real kick for me. Source what you got. Got an old pickup truck engine, newer pickup truck chassis. This is the most expensive part of the build, the steel tubes. My approach is always parts first, ideas second. The parts lead to the ideas. It's like looking in front of you at a buffet. But I do want something coming across. Right now, the steering box is the front bumper, and that's not a good thing. So I'm gonna at least want a couple tubes to protect that. Set this down here. Boom, steering box is out the way. I'll just come in with another one. I just set back just a little bit, give it a little motion. Yeah, but that grill is definitely too tall. I like it sitting there. Roughly 39, 41. That means we have to take 2 inches off. What I liked first and foremost when I saw it was I couldn't identify it. It's almost like a 32 Ford grill shell, but it's much pointier. Not too much, not too little. So I'm gonna make an insert out of this stuff. Every time I see one of these bottoms for the old-fashioned house screen doors, you know, you would see it was just like this little mesh down here, and then it was like regular screen. They just got all different styles, so I just pick them up every time I see one. Sweet. Yeah, so I don't know what that'll have long-term, if it'll have maybe another screen behind it, just to give it a little more, you know, effect of a surface. But that's a cool little different kind of grill. The primary thing in this whole front arrangement is that it looks complete. Now it's like, okay, tube chassis vehicle, it's got the Model T roadster body, and it's got the T-style grill shell. And the cool factor for me is that you got this really sturdy now welded grill shell, and like the bottom of the opening is the Ranger chassis. So looking at it from the front, from the back, yes, I think we can live with that. But I think visually it would just help out these linear tubes. I'd like to see something that I can step on. It's gonna be a monster to get into this thing. You're gonna be like trying to get in over the edge of a swimming pool here. Why not a sidebar? It's like a brush guard, you know, something that would keep things out of those tires. See, now you got these tubes and they're all tubing around, doing tube things. Sometimes, as they say, you gotta just keep tubing until the tubing's done. So yeah, this little sidebar action, you know, it looks tubular like the rest of it, but more so it's a step, right? So you're just getting into the cockpit. So it's gonna be easy. Getting the rest of the cage in place, all of a sudden the proportions seem to work. We're off to the races. At this point in the project, there's only 3 words for this. Yabba, dabba, do. It's gonna be awesome. Now that we have our structure structuralized, it's time to get some mechanics in place so we can get this buggy down the trail. The next 2 necessities for this thing to operate are fuel and a radiator. I picked this guy up online, and I had this left over from another project, which is perfect. This cooled a big block Chevy engine, no problem. So I've made a shroud with a big electric fan that operates just fine with this radiator. So it's basically brand new, but repurposed. I know I'm gonna put the gas tank down here underneath. So this bar is gonna come across here to support the tank. And I'm gonna have to notch into the body a little bit. All right, I'll give that up, right? You see those race cars with like the parachute on the back, it's a little box on the back of the car. Fine, I got a box on the back of the car. The second thing, where does the radiator go back here? I've seen buggies, trucks, where they'll mount them on this bar here, kind of angled. Ultimately, it comes down to the look. I don't want a big aluminum panel up here with a fan showing. There's gonna be airflow right through here. So I was thinking about getting this radiator mounted somewhere in the body with some sort of duct or something. First thing I want to do is just get this gas tank in. Bottom line here is it comes down to function, right? It's got to look good and it's got to work. But primarily for me, it's got to look good. Yeah, it gives it a little bit of that junk in the trunk look. I like it. It works good. The next thing is that radiator. That's where the plot thickens. The body lines on the Model T, they're very petite, so to speak, and the radiator I'm choosing is very large, so therein lies the mashup. Can't put the radiator in front, that's a challenge. I kind of see the radiator sitting in the body, but I want to open the body a bit so that it can get a lot of air, obviously. Cutting like what you would see for a rumble seat, like this used to be a lid, and then maybe we can push this down a little bit to expose the radiator more, or maybe we just cut it out as if it was just an open panel. Just in thinking about hot rods and old Fords, I'm like, man, maybe like the Model A style where there was a rumble seat in the back, maybe make an open area where there could have been a lid and sink the radiator in there. Yeah, look at that. That's the sound of success. Right? Now, does that not look like a port of cooling air potential? I like it already. Sort of what I was thinking is if I could get this thing in the body, you wouldn't have to see a heck of a lot of it. Aesthetically, sticking up, not so good. So if I trim out some of this material, I'm able to lay that back. Surface area is still there, it's just reclined, kind of like what you'll see like in the front of a Corvette. In my world, everything's up for the slice and dice. I mean, if the radiator doesn't fit, all we have is a giant hole in the back of the car. So that fiberglass was so flexible, I just shored it up with this piece of steel so that I could push that down and tack that flap down. Yeah, that's getting close. So you see now that radiator is just direct, right to the atmosphere. This is exactly what I was envisioning. You know, the radiator's tucked in, you got the feeling of there could be a rumble seat in there. Thinking about the mix of like a hot rod and a desert vehicle, you know, this has the look we're going for, but I got one more idea for the deck lid area. So let's see if we were to do another one, and at about that distance, I think. This is just something I've seen in race cars to lighten them, etc. But I'm like, I need some airflow. It'll help come down into the radiator and out the back of the car. So it kind of looks more racy and it works to move the air. Heck yeah, that's looking more like it now. The old Swiss cheese effect. I gotta say, I'm pretty relieved. It's a pretty unorthodox approach, but I think it's gonna work. So for the next thing, aesthetics-wise and function-wise, of course, is the intake and the exhaust, you know, like how's it breathe? That's always a huge part of the character of a machine as well. And I got a couple ideas. Something old, something new. Anybody in there? I made some progress on getting the engine squared away, and I'm inching towards that first run down the desert. It's got a new alternator, fuel pump, starter, and I got a new carburetor for it too. It gives it a little flair. Then I got to thinking, I had this thing laying in the back of the shop for quite a while. Does it have a blower? No. But does it have the look? Uh-huh. So it has an air filter that goes in there, but come on, look at that, right? It gives it that vibe, right? You know me, I like the cartoon stuff where the engine's like literally like jumping out of the vehicle, that type of thing. So this air cleaner on top, yeah, the engine's growing, it's taking up some space. Well, does the exhaust, is it just mild? Is it under the car and out the back? I don't think so. It's gotta have something weird looking. Well, sir, if weird is what you are seeking, you've come to the right place. I got some exhaust headers with this engine. They're Hedman headers. They're perfectly usable. They're just dirty. They got some rust, but I mean, that's par for the course. So you can see the way that that comes out. This chassis, 100% in the way. I mean, does it look kind of cool hanging outside the rig? Yeah, it does. And it's like, well, what if we just did this? What if we put it up into the back? That's pretty wild looking. Look, I love the bottom end of these. You never even see this because this is under the vehicle all the time. So it's got like that cool twisty tubey effect. Yeah, I think I want to get a couple bolts and just put these on, see how they look. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Stranger things have happened, right? Yeah, that's just weird enough to sell it for me. Like a bat. I mean, what are you gonna do, run a pipe out here that you have to climb over when you get in and out of the car? I don't think so. What I do think is those like sprint cars, they run these little mini mufflers, so it's like a header dump right now exhaust. Yeah, look at this. Basically, you know, it makes it legal for the track. It's just the simplest of simple baffles. I was like, man, that looks pretty like industrial strength. It's all business. So, I mean, if I cut this back, shorten it up as much as possible, why not, right? Is it gonna be loud? Yeah. So I'm gonna cut the end of this off and see what it looks like. I'll weld that right on. Perfect harmony with everything else that I've built. It looks way faster than it actually is, so that's a bonus. Definitely like, whoa, is it a race car? Is it a jalopy? What's going on here? Everybody's got goals for their projects, and personally, I go for like the head scratcher vote. It's like, what the heck is that? That's really always been the spice for me, is when I can't figure it out. So the big question on my mind was seating arrangements. These things are very tiny inside. Once I put that transmission in, I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. We ran out of room real quick. By putting these bars in, I snugged up the interior space by a good 6 inches as well. So I'm just gonna throw this piece of plywood in as a reference of the floor height. I was over at my buddy Tom's house, and he's like, dude, come over, I got the seats for your hot rod, check them out. So I did, I checked them out. Ford Econoline van seats. I love the green and black two-tone. This curved bottom, It's super cool. I chucked it in the car. Look at that. Is that not perfection? The height, the colors, the stitching, the fact that it's Ford. Everything on this is Ford. It's awesome. I mean, yes, yes, and yes. But there was one thing I wasn't considering, and that's this. Look what happens when you put this in that. You run out of room real quick. There's nowhere to put this other leg. Where do I put it? Over here? I just make it a bench seat. That's what I was trying to get away from. As much as I like them, you can see that this is 5 pounds of trash in a 1 pound bag. Nothing's easy in the land of full custom. I mean, those seats look perfect. Now it's time to figure out something else. See, by sitting down lower, you got some room. Get into some terrain and it'll take a lot to beat your head. But you can see the roof doesn't actually look that tall now once you got a big giant monster in the car. What I learned from that other seat fit up is I need to keep this seat as low and compact as possible. I mean, what if it was just right here, center steer? Shifter right here, I could bend it over to this side. Then there's tons of room. Accelerator on the right, steering wheel, front row center. Some folks might think having a single seater might get a little lonely, but that's not the case. I mean, my wife Jamie has her own dune buggy, and that's the whole spice of life, the game of chase. I think I just solved my own problem. I really didn't have any other option. There was no room, so it's just me. I cut a whole bunch of these 1/8" plate tabs, and I'm welding them into the roll cage because that's going to support the seat back, the new seat back that'll fit me. Maximum interior space. So yeah, I think something like this, but I'm gonna have to build up a bottom for this. So I'm gonna use this as the dimension right here. Set up my marks. You'll see this angle here, just locks it in, locks it to the back. It ain't going nowhere. It's not gonna have any formal floors. It's just a screen. I got this expanded mesh. So yeah, I'm just gonna make a couple templates, cut it out for the floor pans. I'm not gonna weld this in until it's running and it's proven that the transmission is working. It's not all metal and plywood. I have a softer side. You know, I have an idea to enhance the driving experience. So I was thinking what would be super durable and usable as a seat cover. This is Dude's dog bed. Dude is no longer with us, so I don't think he's gonna be needing his bed. And I think he would definitely approve of having the seat made out of this. It's got all this good plush padding, and then I can nip and tuck this good canvas to fit the seat back. Is that not tailor-made? Yes, it's true in his younger years, Dude was a little hesitant to share his prized possessions. This is being repurposed. It's just part of what we do here. I know, it's your favorite accessory, but look at that. Don't look so concerned, man. I'll get you another one. As time went on, his priorities changed. He became a little more open to sharing and repurposing part of his lifestyle. I mean, besides treats, one of Dude's favorite pastimes was actually just laying around, so I think the shop inspector would approve. Mechanically, it's represented. It's all there, from the seat to the radiator, exhaust, etc. What's it gonna look like in the end? I don't know. This cage has a pretty strong presence. The T Roadster has sort of faded away. It's its own thing now. You know me, as usual, I got a couple ideas. I have a few more final details to attend to in the upholstery department, but we're getting there. I can almost taste the sand in my teeth. I just did a quick scuff with Scotch-Brite and just flat black and the whole thing. Fuel cell, chassis, engine. The headers are coated with a high heat. I think it's starting to look a little bit better. We're at the critical point. Got all the busy work attended to. Now we got a blank canvas. What's next? I'm not one of the great painters in the world for sure, but I've done some stuff. My style is basically simple, so I'm gonna keep this with a spray can finish. Well, is it racing inspired? Is it cartoon inspired? I think so. I think I want to bring a little bit of Roadster hot rod back into the equation. Me looking at it, the big statement right now is the exhaust, right? Some effect's got to be represented coming out of that. You see it a lot in hot rodding. Flames. So that's why I'm not going to do them. Just thinking out loud, I'm just wondering what other natural elements we could incorporate to really make this project speak out. I'm talking about something heavenly, something from above. Greased lightning. Maybe that. The funny story is the greased lightning thing has been brought up before on that Ford project, but guy just wasn't going for it. So, I mean, come on, it's an iconic sort of hot rodding scene in that movie. I think it was a 41 Ford, the white car with that silver kind of lightning bolt thing on the side. Super gaudy, like one of the worst paint jobs ever, I think. That's why it deserves some recognition. You might be wondering, Ian, why are you looking for inspiration from something you just called the worst paint job ever? One thing can be said, it's stuck in my head all these years. It might just be right for this project. Maybe take the flow from the exhaust, from the cowl and the exhaust height, and just kind of drape it down, you know, sort of centering at the tire, and then maybe coming back up. But I'm talking about just like Zorro hit it with a lightning bolt, just all over. I think the parallel I'm drawing with the style of artwork is the way that I'm building this project. It is just a rudimentary mashup of parts. So yeah, this little weird blast of artwork on the side kind of fits. Just trying to represent the negative space in here of what the image will be. So see, it's in here that's getting painted. Does that look like a messy teenager did that? It's starting to. Yes, I'm just covering up everything I don't want to paint. It's not even like lightning at this point. It's just like an abstract shape. But if you think about superheroes like Shazam, right? So it's like, is that the center of like the blast? Is it radiating from the middle of that? I mean, you could tell a story. We're ready to apply some liquid. Not a man of indecision. Once you give it the double take to certify, what else is there? It's about as low tech as it gets. So this is called stainless steel, this color. This isn't gonna be just a simple, one-shot deal on the layout. So I'm leaving the rest of the car masked and I'm just pulling back against that negative shape of the design. Guy in his garage. Can of spray paint in a dream. That's weird. That's weird enough to be a keeper. Checking this out, it's like, yeah, it gives you a feeling of motion. The body was pretty boring, just this matte black shape. So this little graphic really spices it up. What I'm thinking is a border on the silver. Gives it a nice little frame surrounding that. I have a plethora of options here. I've got some pink, got some blue. And I could go wild with it. Look at that pearl. I don't know, that could really take it over the top, huh? I got options, I got spray cans. We'll see what develops. I mean, anything can happen. And then we ride. Out here in the desert, you need a vehicle for every occasion. This one is for pure fun. This desert hot rod is ready for its maiden voyage. Got the paint set up, very simple, bold graphic. This thing's gonna get nicked up, scratched up, scuffed up, so it gives it some flavor. I felt mostly like it really works with the exhaust. It's pretty dramatic. Sort of like an old race car would have, something pretty primitive, but flashy. I was gonna put that blower on the engine, but I felt like it was just too much. While it did look really aggressive, I thought it might just kind of cause some stress. This thing's gonna be bouncing around a lot, and the last thing I want is a big bobblehead on top of the engine. I got these KC daylighters. They're the real deal. They got the KC logo right on the glass. I like old school. The wheel and tire combo really gives this thing an aggressive look. Dog bed upholstered seat, I mean, what more does a man need? Proportions for me were always the issue with this. Getting the roll bar in place and the length of it, like it works, but it's still super cramped inside. I barely fit. I put the steering outside the body. It steers perfect. 2 universal joints, right to the Ranger steering box. It's ready to go. Seeing the car out here, you know, the graphic and the look of it, it works for me. It is the toy that I always build, right? So it fits like that. It looks like it could be a small little scale model. It's got the look, right? It's definitely a cartoon machine. There are a million ways to go off-roading. I just happen to like the weird stuff. Yeah, my friend Crafty B, he does aluminum casting. He's like, oh man, I got just the badge for that ride. This car fits right in my mental state. It's got the weird mashup of parts. It's got the weird exhaust, weird artwork, a little bit of a weird roll cage. Let's roll. I always got the cartoon monster in my head. It's like, well, who drives this? I think once we get to driving it, the character will emerge. This rig is perfect for this environment, you know. It was built exactly for this terrain. It's gotta be able to take the rough stuff. It is excessively hot and it is brutally bumpy. So for a machine to hold together out here, it's gotta hold up to those demands. The Ranger chassis just sucks up these ruts. The manual transmission spins these tires like nobody's business. I mean, this engine, I think, was the optimal choice. It's got bottom end torque for days. The sound of the exhaust right there in stereo, pure adrenaline rush. It's intense. I mean, how much more fun than that do you need? I call that a success. Feels good. It's exactly what I needed to ride around in out here. I don't know, something just struck me. I think I might have met my soulmate. This is how it's meant to look. That's why I didn't want to get crazy with the paint job. It's supposed to look dirty and desertified. I mean, dude would definitely appreciate this. Even after being out here for the whole shakedown run, this project still doesn't have a name. Definitely has something to do with dirt. I'll give it that. I gotta say, I need some chapstick and an ice-cold adult beverage after all that. What a day. It's time to have a little more fun.